Okay, a very good evening, guys. Can you all let me know if you all can hear me and see a screen? Yes. Can you can see? All right, good. Perfect. So we're going to start with focus area number 20, right? The past papers of unit number 6. We started unit number 6 last week. So today is the second part of that where we will be doing the past papers relating to the equilibrium calculations and, different things connecting to that. And then we have one more session for unit number 6. Then unit 6 is completely done. Then we move into unit number 7 where the grade 13 syllabus starts. Cool. Right. So we'll get into this. And just a reminder for those who are in the seminar, I hope you all are in the seminar class group. You have been added. The first session is tomorrow. And for the mock exam people, I'll send you all a message as well. The physical mock exam is happening on Sunday. So for those who registered, make sure that you come. Cool. So during the seminar, yes, you all will have a break. I don't have a fixed time yet as to when the break would be. I will let you know. Yes, mock 3 recording is available. Let's get started. Okay, so focus area number 20, that is from unit number 6. So the faster we finish it, the faster we can finish off today's class. Okay, so we'll start, Lama, with focus area 20. There was a bit of a cartoon as well. What was the cartoon about? There is someone, there is a road, there is something happening. What is this whole thing about? Okay, so if you know, Lama, in Sri Lanka, there is this thing called the RTI, Right to Information. So there is a RTI hotline as well. So if you want to get any info about anything, you can call them and they will give you that information. Now, even let's say in office, certain, let's say, economic data that is not publicly available, that the central bank doesn't report or the Department of Census and Statistics doesn't report, we sometimes call to this RTI listing, and you can email them as well. And sometimes you'll have to pay some amount of money and they will give you that information. So we usually do this for the different analysis and stuff like that. So the recently what has happened was there was, I think, I'm not sure who did it or which party. Someone wanted the information of the president's domestic travel plans. Right, so now if you take a president, they have a schedule in where they will be on which and which day. So someone wanted the information of that, but that information was not released. Now that is where the whole cartoons and all of that is going. That's why you have this whole RTI, a person there, and then they say security sensitive information. For me, my personal take, I think that is okay, right? And people don't have to know where the president is staying here, and I don't know why they needed that, because that is president's security, right? Now, even if you take, Lamai, how a president travels, now take about, for example, the US, maybe you can even watch a video where how Donald Trump travels, right? The amount of security that is there when he travels. So in any country, Lama, when a president travels from a place to another, that's highly secure. Sometimes you don't even know they have multiple cars, which car is he going in, right? All of the security features are there. So I don't think it's fair for president's travel plans, where exactly he will be there, because obviously there is a security threat there, no? Because who knows who will get that information. So that is why it was not put out. That's my personal opinion. I know it's debatable to argue. How do you verify the validity? Validity, that usually the information you get from RTI usually will be valid. It's a government official source, no? So you can consider it as a valid source there. Cool. So that's the cartoon that was there. So with that, we'll move into the questions. 2011, question number 27. The question is saying, what if they have, it's not biases, right? Usually when you say information, those are data points kind of things. For example, what was the unemployment rate in Jaffna? So it's a survey done, it's an actual number. So it's not, those are not like normative statements. There could be, definitely, there could be errors in this thing. I'm not saying that the information is perfect, but even then you can also argue then the central bank data or Department of Census and Statistics data might not be reliable. So there could be small issues here and there, but to a major extent it is. Okay, right. So the question says, in a closed economy with no government, the value of investment multiplier is 5. By how much will consumption increase if investment increases by 200 million? Ideally, this has to be in the part of a next focus area, the multiplier. But that is okay. We have learned it now, so let's do. Okay. Can you all tell me, now you all know Lama, how the multiplier works. So listen carefully. We'll go to that next week also. When there is a change in investment, so they're saying there is a change in investment of how much? Of 200 million. If there is a change in investment of 200 million and your multiplier is 5 times, by how much will my national income change by? National income will increase by, if you increase investment by 200, they're saying it will multiply by 5 times. So national income will increase by 1,000. Now, is the question asking you by how much will national income increase? Question is not asking you by how much will national income increase. Question is asking you by how much will consumption increase. Yeah, by how much will consumption increase. So how do you get this, Lamai? There are 2 ways of getting it. I will show you one way for this. So what you do is, Lamai, you take the change in national income and you multiply this by the MPC. Right? Then you can get the consumption. Or another way is you take the change in national income and you minus the change in investment or government spending, whatever autonomous component that change. So in this question, the second way is easy. Now MPC also, they haven't directly given, I'll show you how to calculate, but you all know by heart now MPC is 0.8 if multiply is 5. But for the others, I'll show you all next week. So we can do the second one. The change in national income is 1,000. If you minus the change in investment of 200, that means there has been a change in consumption of 800. Logically, how this works, I will show you next week because that's the multiplier part. So which one is your answer then? Your answer is number 4. Yes, there's been a 2,000 rupee note that has released. No, so but that doesn't mean it will directly contribute to inflation. There is nothing like that. Yes, so just because they come up with a 2,000 rupee note, inflation would go up here like we'll see how it goes. Okay. Right. The next one. Other things remaining constant, which one of the following would cause aggregate demand to increase what? An increase in what? It's an easy question now. An increase in taxes, interest rate, saving, government spending, imports. So take the components of aggregate demand. So if one of the components increased, my aggregate demand has to increase. No? Or imports have to fall because imports is a negative. Either imports have to fall or else CIGX has to increase. So any answer that talks about CIGX, you have number 4, no? Increase in government spending. So if government spending increases, your aggregate demand will increase. Easy question. Done. Okay, that's 28, number 4. Then we'll move into the next question. So there are 3 questions from that one. The next question is 2011 question number 30. They're saying, according to the information given in the table, the value of household savings in the economy is. So they've given you consumption, government purchases, taxes, investment, imports, exports. They're asking you for savings. How do you get this? You have multiple ways of getting this answer, but which one do you think is the most easiest way? The most easiest way that you can do is Lamai, using the withdrawals equals injections approach. So you know in an economy, the total withdrawals, here we'll have to assume Lamai, the economy is at equilibrium. Total withdrawals will equal to total injections. So what are your withdrawals? Savings, taxes, imports. Injections are investment, government spending, exports. So you have all the information except for savings. Savings is what you're going to find. So savings, will leave it as S. Taxes, they have told us is 25. Imports, they have told us is 5. Investment is given 15. Government spending 20. Exports are 10. So if you work the numbers around, how much do we get? Savings is, I hope you can do the maths. Savings is 15. Okay. Our personal savings, household savings, same thing. So you get 50. That is answer number 3. So not that hard. Those are the 3 questions from the 2011 A-level paper. Private savings is not household savings. No? Private savings is household savings and business savings. But usually in questions that you all get, business savings is not given most of the time. So therefore, you consider household savings as private savings as well. Government savings is the total government's income minus the total government's expenditure. So whatever they're getting as income, let's say they are taxes, any grants, whatever they are paying as expenditure, let's say interest, recurrent spending, all of that, you'll have to minus. Components in aggregate. Yes, components of aggregate demand and aggregate expenditure are the same. But aggregate demand and expenditure are not the same thing. There is a past paper question, we'll come to that. Okay. We did that last week, right? Not the difference between aggregate demand and aggregate expenditure. That essay question was done last time. Should be a part of the last one. Yes, we did that. Okay, so 2012 question 22. Yes, the other way of getting it, Lama, you can get national income and deduct consumption. That's also correct. But I feel this method is easy. Assume that in economy operating at equilibrium, exports are 400, imports are 500, taxes are 1,002, government spending is 1,005, savings is 1,000. What is the level of investment? How do you do this? It's a simple thing. Again, withdrawals equals injections. So in an economy, total withdrawals equals injections. Your savings, taxes, and imports have to equal to your investment, government spending, exports. So they're asking for what? This time they're asking for investment. So we'll put the missing numbers. You have exports as 400. Oh, okay, we'll take in order. Savings is 1,000. Taxes they have told is 1,200. Imports is given as 500. Investment is what I'm finding. Government spending is given as 1,005. Exports are given as 400. So how much do I get, Lamai, as the missing figure? Investment. You do the maths. 800. So investment is 800. That is your answer. Number 2. Easy questions. These are not difficult ones. These are almost 3 marks in the paper. Take the equation, put the numbers, find the missing figure. Then the next part. 2012 A-levels question 26. They're saying the diagram below shows the different equilibrium incomes of an economy under different aggregate demand conditions. Okay. This has to ideally be aggregate expenditure conditions. If the full employment level of income is YF, so this is the full employment. What is full employment, Lama? Full employment kiyanne if the economy uses all of its resources, all your land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship in a sustainable manner, how much you can produce. That is what you call your full employment level of output. So full employment doesn't have to be equal to your equilibrium. You can be at equilibrium at full employment. You can be at equilibrium above full employment. That's an inflationary gap, or at equilibrium below full employment, a deflationary or an unemployment gap. So they are saying if the full employment is YF, which distance measures the inflationary gap? So here, inflationary gap, you have to be at equilibrium above full employment. So then according to our answer, it has to be somewhere around in Y2. So Y2 equilibrium your aggregate expenditure has to be this. Your Y equals E line is this. Okay. Now, how do you find the gap? How are you going to get the gap? There are 2 things they can ask you, Lama. Remember, when they ask you for a gap, they can ask you for the inflationary gap. Right? This is one way. Or they can ask you inflationary output gap. Okay. Remember, listen carefully. If they ask you for inflationary output gap, output is your horizontal axis, number income output, that is your horizontal axis. So if they ask you for the output gap, you give the horizontal distance. So then your answer would be YF to Y2. This is your inflationary output gap, YF to Y2. That's the inflationary output gap. Now in this question, are they asking you for the inflationary output gap? Are they asking you for that? They're not asking for the output gap. They are just saying inflationary gap. Output කියලා වචනයක් දාලා නැහැ. So if they just ask for a gap lamai, then you have to give it on the horizontal side. So how do you do that? Now, in order to reach full employment, your aggregate expenditure has to be here, this brown shaded one. Then only you will be at equilibrium at full employment. But actually your aggregate expenditure is higher. That is why you are at full employment above that. So therefore, which one is the gap lamai? You have to give this horizontal gap. So can you see where can you get a letters to get that horizontal gap? So this horizontal gap, maybe you can say RH or you can say GK. So see if there's an answer that says GK or RH. Anything there? Sorry, not horizontal, vertical gap. Any answer that says that? There is an answer that says RH. No? No. So therefore, you go with that answer. There were a few questions. Hold on. Why you take aggregate demand 2 as supply curve? There is no supply curve here now. This is the aggregate expenditure. Aggregate expenditure. Okay. So then, answer is 2. Done. Going to the next. 2013 A-levels, question 24. They're saying, closed economy with no government, consumption is 30 plus 0.75. Equilibrium income is 300. What is the level of investment? Easy, no? Closed economy, no government, can simple economy. You only have consumption and investment. So you know, Y is equal to C plus I. Y is given as 300. Right? They have given income as 300. Then they are asking you, consumption is given as 30 plus 0.7y. So for y, I put that same number, 0.7 into 300. Right? This is consumption, 30 plus 0.7y. And you have to find investment. Investment is the missing number. So how much do we get when you simplify? 300, 30, 0.7 into 300 is how much? 0.7 in 300 is 210 plus I. So if you move the numbers around, how much do you get? Investment equals 60. Answer is this. For the previous question, there were a few doubts. Can I explain that again? Okay, there's nothing big here to explain, right? For this first, I hope you all know the basic theory. Without that, whatever I explained would have been too difficult. So inflationary gap is the difference between your full employment and what you've actually got. So inflationary gap can you're at equilibrium above full employment. So if for me to be at equilibrium, full employment, I have to be at aggregate demand 1. Right? Then only you get full employment, YF. But inflation gap can you're at equilibrium above that. So they're asking you for that gap. So that gap is RH. GK and RH, I think both are equally correct because the gap is the same. No? It doesn't have to be one is more correct here. Okay. In 2019, they've asked to this thing. So we'll draw. So when we come to that question, we'll come. Okay. In my exam, there's always confusion when not in negative gap. We'll come. So when we do some past, we'll come to it. Okay. Right. That's 2012 question 26. And 2013 24. Done. Then we go to the next part. 2013 A-levels, question number 25. This is interesting one. Okay. Here, see, they're saying the diagram might be a little unclear. Look at this. Output gaps are taken by the horizontal line. That's why I told you, right? This is what happens when you don't listen. So if they said inflationary output gap, then that is actual minus potential. If they just say inflationary gap, you have to give the vertical distance. Okay. If they only give one curve, you can't find the gap lemma. They have to give two curves. Okay. The diagram below shows the savings and investment curves of a closed economy with no government. The potential level of output is YP. Okay, this is your potential level of output. Therefore, the gap between actual and potential output can be measured by the distance y. Now, how do you get your actual output limit? Now, they are saying YP is the potential. So, potential is your full employment level of output. Where is your actual output? Actual output is your actual equilibrium. Where is that? Your actual equilibrium is where withdrawals equals injections. Now here, savings is the only withdrawal, investment is only injection. So here you have your withdrawals curve, the blue one. The black one is your investment, your injections curve. Where are the two curves cutting? Two curves are cutting over here. So this is your equilibrium level. This is your equilibrium level of national income. The YF is your full employment level of national income. So what is the gap between your actual and your potential output? So see if there is something there. So now you don't have anything called YE, YP. So you can give this, right? Here, the gap between G and H. You can give it that as your answer. So answer would be number 2. Because these are not difficult ones. Get the logic into your head and get it done. So this is the, why not JH? It can't be JH. So how do you find that? That's the problem, right? When they ask you, Lamai, the difference between actual output and potential output, how are you saying actual difference between actual and potential output is it? The difference between actual and potential, Lamai, you compare actual and potential. So potential output they have given as YP. Actual output is where you are at equilibrium. Equilibrium is where withdrawals equals injections. So that is according to the graph. If I connect it, that is this yellow color dot here, and that is YE. So the gap between those two is only your difference between actual and potential, not the gap between J and H. Okay. What if they ask inflationary gap here? So if they ask inflationary gap, then you have to be at equilibrium above full employment. Why can't you take LG? Again, those are things I have to ask you, Lamai. How are you taking LG? If YP is the potential output, YE is the equilibrium level of output. If the question is asking you the difference between the potential and the actual, the equilibrium, how are you taking a different? So the gap between those two is LG nilama diagram at the end. Yeah. So have that in mind. Yeah, only savings and investment because no government. Correct. Okay. Now, it's him. There is no next. Anyway, they have to give you 5 options. So they will give you all the letters. So there is no like why not this, why not this. Anyway, so you figure out why is this. Okay. Now, 2013-26. In 1 year, they're saying total spending on consumption, investment, and government purchases was equal to 103% of GDP. This would be possible only if, that's the easy one, 11. Consumption, investment, government spending, your consumption, investment, and government spending, all of this is equal to your GDE, gross domestic expenditure. And then gross domestic expenditure plus net exports is only GDP. So they are saying GDE is 103% of GDE. GDE is 103% of GDP. That means if our GDP is 100, our GDE is 103. It is 103% of this. So that means, Lamai, what should your net exports value be in this question? Your net exports has to be positive or negative? It has to be negative, right? So then only 103 minus 3, you get 100. So answer, net exports negative. That is number 3. So these are almost 3 marks in the question. Good. Okay, that's the 2013 paper. So 2013, you had 3 questions. Done. Why can't it be 1? Money supply is increased. Yes, I should ask you that. Why are you saying answer is 1? What is the connection between GDE and GDP, and what is the connection that you're drawing from money supply? If money supply increases, demand increases. Okay. Okay, if money supply increases, I'll agree aggregate demand goes up. But what's the point? So aggregate demand is C plus I plus G plus NX. Hey, these are easy questions, Lama, that some of you all are missing up. I don't know why. It's as simple as it gets. Please don't overthink this. Okay, going into 2015. No. So when you say aggregate expenditure, your point there is wrong. When you say aggregate expenditure is not just C plus I plus G. It's C plus I plus G plus NX. So if money supply increases, then this entire component has to increase. You're thinking on a complete wrong angle. You just have to know what's the difference between GDE and GDP. Difference between GDE and GDP is your net exports. Okay. 2015-27. Consider the following macroeconomic data for an economy which is operating at an equilibrium level, equilibrium national income. Okay. Then they are saying the level of investment in this economy. So how do you find the level of investment in the economy? Consumption is given, taxes are given, government spending is given, imports is given, exports is given. You can get this in multiple ways. How are you going to get it? Maybe we'll do the components of this. Did I miss one question? After 2013-26 in your tune, you have 2015-27. Yeah, then I didn't miss something. Okay. How can you do this? You can do this in multiple ways. You can do this, Lamai, now. To do this using W equals J, do you have savings though? Then you have to find savings and all of that is there. So what I would do is I would do this, Lamai. Now, if you take this, so you know your GDP, right? You can get it using these things. You can do it multiple ways, right? Either Y equals Z, or you can do this. So you know your GDP. GDP is what you call your national income, is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. So they have given you GDP at 8,000. Consumption they are telling you is 5,000. Investment is what I need. Government spending they have given 1,500. Exports they have given 980. Imports they have given 1,200. So find the missing figure. Savings and tax are not a part of GDP. I hope you all know that, know the components of GDP. 1,000. How much do we get? 1,720. So that is your investment. So this is usual normal Y equals. They've given the Y. They've given all the other information. You find the I investment. So 1,720. Then 2015, number 28. Economists assume that as real GDP increase, what will happen? Right. There is this connection. Now, in our syllabus, listen carefully. Yeah? In our syllabus, we learn exports are autonomous. In unit number 6, when you give numbers for exports, we just say exports equals 100. Right? Exports are autonomous. Imports also in our syllabus, we assume that it is autonomous. So we say imports are equal to, let's say, 150. But in the real world, remember, in the real world, exports are actually autonomous. Exports actually doesn't depend on income. But imports there is an income-induced component as well. So you all would see the sum in some of my mock papers where I make it a little bit hard as well. So imports in the real world is not just 150. It's not completely autonomous. There is a income-induced part like this as well. At some different places, you all would have seen this. But in our syllabus, we don't go to that level. In our syllabus, we just, for exports, we give a number, imports, we give a number. There is no plus 0 point some y. There is no income-induced part. Now, the reason why imports are autonomous now, I think practically. When income increase, let's say the country's GDP increase, as a result, people's income increase, what will you do? When your income increases, Lama, you will buy a phone, you will buy a laptop, you will buy vehicles, you will pump petrol to that vehicles. All of that means, where is that coming from? Where are laptops coming from? Where are phones coming from? Where are the vehicles coming from? All are imported, right? All are coming from abroad. So when income increases, a country's national income increases, Lamai, remember, imports also have to increase. So even though in our syllabus, we say imports are just 150, there is no 150 or whatever number, there is no income induced component. In the real world, there is. Okay, have that in mind. So then with that story in mind, now tell me what will happen if real GDP increases. If your real GDP increases, Lamai, what will happen to your exports? Your exports won't really change, Lamai. Exports are autonomous. No? So exports are simply exports equals 100 or 200, whatever. Okay. Exports are autonomous. What will happen to imports if real GDP increases? If real GDP increases, people's income goes up. You're going to now import. You're going to buy vehicles, buy phones, buy laptops. And imports, but exports are constant. Imports are going up, kiyanne. What will happen to your net exports? Net exports means export minus import. Your minus part is increasing. Therefore, your net exports will come down. So then look for an answer that has this. Autonomous means it doesn't depend on anything. Induced consumption is the consumption that depends on income. We went through this last week. We did that question. Okay, so which one is your answer? So look for an answer that says exports are constant, imports are increasing, or net exports will fall. Exports are constant because exports don't really depend on your national income. Just because your GDP increase, exports will not get affected by that. No? So that's why we say exports doesn't depend on income, it's autonomous. Okay. So you can say this now. So if exports increase, GDP increase, you can't say it the other way. You can't say GDP වැඩි වෙන හින්දා export වැඩි වෙනවා කියන්න බෑ. So if in a countries, if exports increase, yes, GDP will go up. That is correct. I will agree. Right? But here they're asking the other way. No? If the GDP of a country increase, you can't say my export වැඩි වෙනවා කියලා. එහෙම කියන්න කොහොමද? That's what I'm saying you can't say. Okay. So which one's the answer? This question number 29. Sorry about that. So can you correct that then in your past paper? Now, this question number 29. Okay. Net exports will decrease. So could be answer number 5. Aggregate demand, that is too much of thinking. You don't have to go there. Just remember this basic story. Then 2016. 2016 is saying question 23. Assume that in a simple economy, aggregate consumption is C equals 250 plus 0.75i. Investment is 450. Equilibrium is this. Yes, the problem with you all reading this question is you've read it the other way around. Question is asking if GDP increase, what will happen? Question is not asking what will increase GDP. Okay. So if I agree, if net exports increase, then GDP will increase. That I agree. That is not what the question is asking. Read the question. Economists assume that as real GDP increase. If GDP increase, now what will happen is what they ask. Okay. Think. Okay, how do you get equilibrium here? You can't take 2 nilamai. How are you saying imports will decrease when people's income increases? They will import more. No? And I'm giving you an import function that says something like this. How are you saying imports will decrease? Okay. How much is equilibrium? 250 plus 0.75. Investment is 450. The question easy as ever. Y equals E. Y is equal to 250 plus 0.75y, that is C plus I, plus investment is 450. So you simplify, get the y. How much do you all get? Y is equal to 250 plus 450 is 700. 700 plus 0.75y. Y minus 0.75y equals 700. 0.25y is 700. Y is equal to 700 divided by 0.25. You get 2,800. Answer number 2. Then 2016-25. Which one of the following represents an injection into an economy circular flow of income? Easy. What are the injections now? Injections are investment, government spending, exports. See, in your answer, that is directly there. A deficit in the trade balance. Deficit in the trade balance can be imports are more than exports. That is not really an injection then. No. Imports are more can there is money going out. No. A government budget deficit, can that be a injection? Government budget deficit can the government is spending more than what they are taxing. Right? The government spending is much higher than what they're actually collecting from tax. So can that be a this thing? Yes, then. So the government spending is much higher than taxes. That can be answer. We look at the others. Increase in taxes. Taxes are withdrawals. No. Retained profits. Retained profits will not have this. That is also more like business savings. Retained profits. So savings also is a withdrawal. Household savings also withdrawal. So which one is the injection? Running a budget. See, they haven't given you the question directly. No, answers are direct. You will look for an answer where investment, government spending, exporting. Same answer. But indirectly, they are saying there is a budget deficit. Budget deficit means government is spending more than what they are taxing. So spending more can that's like an injection. Answer number 2. Then 2016, question 26. Question is saying, diagram below displays the behavior of some macroeconomic variables in an economy. Okay. If the national income of this economy is Y3, okay, national income is Y3, okay, and the aggregate expenditure function is AE1, there is a what? Now remember, Lamai, this is disequilibrium. This graph is different from Lamai, the YF and YE graphs. This graph and, for example, this graph, these are two different situations. This is equilibrium, right? The 2012-26. The 2016-26, this is disequilibrium. Okay, listen. So they are saying, Lamai, your national income is Y3. This is the amount of output you're producing. You're producing Y3. So, and your expenditure function is AE1. This is only your expenditure. So you're not at equilibrium. For you to be at equilibrium, Y and E should cross each other. So now they're asking you, in economy is at equilibrium, there is an unintended inventory. Guys, can you all correct my this thing? I think I've typed this wrong. Which two have to be shortage or reduction? Is it the fourth, fifth one, or the third and second and third one? Check your past book, put a fourth and fifth. No, sorry. Can you all correct that level? Because I have copied and pasted the same answer. This has to be reduction. This also has to be reduction. No? Otherwise, the answers are the same. Okay. Then we'll come into this. Okay. How do we do this? This is how you read it. Look. At this level of output, this is your expenditure. the red color dot. That is your expenditure. This is the, put in another color. Green dot is your output. Yeah, the y equals, remember this is the y equals E line element. So at that line, the expenditure and the output should be equal. Your expenditure is the red one. Your output is the green one. Have you produced more than what people want, or have you produced less than what people want? People want the red amount. So people want, people want, let's say, an output of 5,000. You have produced the output of, let's say, 7,000. You have produced more than what is required, right? You have produced more. So that is called involuntary. Now, is that equilibrium then? Is the output equal to expenditure? Output equal now, you can say equilibrium. So here the output is greater than your expenditure. You're producing more than what people want. You're producing more than what people want. You're at disequilibrium. What is this situation called, Lamai? Your Y is greater than E. Do you have an inventory accumulation or an inventory shortage? Shortage, another name is reduction. You have more inventory. You have produced more than what people want. There is an inventory accumulation. So involuntary inventory accumulation, or we call it unintended inventory accumulation. So what should happen, Lamai? What should happen if you want to reach equilibrium now? No, red dot is not equilibrium. Red dot is the expenditure. What should happen now if you want to reach equilibrium? You have produced more than what people want. Should you increase your national income more, or should you now reduce your output? What should you do? You have produced more than what people want. Your Y is more. Your output is more. Then if you have produced more, you have to reduce your output. Right? Maybe immediately you might store and all of it. But ideal, what should you do? You have to reduce your output or your national income. Output can income. You have to reduce it. That's two. So which one is the answer? Which one talks about an inventory accumulation and reducing your national income? Because you have produced more now. You're producing more than what people want. Answer number 3. Okay. That's 2016-26. Red dot is the expenditure because the question is saying, the aggregate expenditure function is AE1. Green is not equilibrium. For you to be at equilibrium, Y should equal to, at green, there is no Y equals nothing. Okay, in simple terms, if I'm telling you, this is what has happened, okay? This is easy one. This is the people who are asking me questions are people who have not learned this properly. In this, forget about this AE2 curve that is just given to confuse you. I will erase this AE2 curve. Okay. AE2 curve will forget about it. Okay. I erase the AE2 curve, this AB, all of it, or native. Yep. Listen carefully. Where is the economy at equilibrium? A economy is at equilibrium when Y equals E. Right? When Y equals E. So according to this one now, then it is over here. This red color dot, that is your equilibrium. Then if that other curve was also there, then this is also a equilibrium. To simplify it only, I'm making it one curve. Either this red dot is equilibrium or the other red dot is equilibrium. Equilibrium is where Y equals E. You have to produce what the people want. If people are willing to spend 100,000, you have to produce output worth 100,000. Y should equal to E. But here they are saying, right? Here they are saying expenditure is AE1, right? But people output is Y3. So always remember, this is a 45-degree line. So if you're reading it, read from the horizontal axis. Sorry, vertical axis. So at Y3, remember I told you when interpreting this, this is your income line, output. So you have produced the output worth of, let's say, 7,000. But people are willing to spend only 5,000. Your output is more than what people are willing to spend. So there is an inventory, this gap, the gap between those, that's an inventory accumulation. You have produced more than what people want. So if you have produced more than what people want, now what should happen to national income? To go to equilibrium, you have to reduce your production. To go to national income, your national income has to decrease. National income has to fall. So that is why you go with that. Because there's a national income will rise. Now you have to read the question about how it comes. It's not because national income has risen. Now they're asking what will happen now. Will, future tense. So that 2017. 17 question 21. No, production is not at equilibrium. Production is at Y3. Question has given that. Assume that in a closed economy, aggregate consumption function is C equals 200 plus 0.85. There has to be a decimal here. Okay. Then an equilibrium level is 4,000. What is the level of investment? Same question as before. Same question repeated with different numbers. So Y is equal to E, Y is equal to C plus I. C is 200 plus 0.8Y. Investment is 4,000. Can you simplify and give me the answer? Sorry, by name, how much is the investment? They have given Y, no? They're given this as 4,000. How much is the investment? Plus 0.8 into 4,000 plus investment. Investment is a 600. That is this number. Okay, that is that. Is the recording uploaded on YouTube? Not immediately. So the fact that I am telling this again, I've told you all this in the group as well. I'm doing the past paper class completely free. On my end, I am canceling all my plans that I have on a Friday night, and I'm sitting here in front of my laptop and I'm doing it. So on your end, it's done completely free. I would expect that commitment from you as well. If I find some time, I will upload on YouTube. But like a normal paid class, which I put the recording in a day, I will not be doing that for this. Okay. Yeah, that one is 600. Then question number 27. Question 27 is saying, table below presents the data on the components of aggregate expenditure and national income. Under which situation is the economy in disequilibrium? So calculate and see. Here you have the Y. No? So calculate the expenditure and tell me. How do you get expenditure? C plus I plus G plus X minus M. So how much do we get in the first one? 250, 300, 400, 475, 475 minus 25, 450. That can be your answer then. You're not at equilibrium. Y is 400, expenditure is 450. Calculating the others and see. 300, 350, 450, 525 minus 25 is 500. So all of this, you will get the same value as Y equals Z. You calculate and see. You get the expenditure. Expenditure is C plus I plus G plus X minus M. In the first situation is where these two are not equal to each other. Done. That is 27 is answer number 1. Done. Then 2018 A levels, question 27. In an economy without a government sector, consumption, investment, exports, and imports are given below. What is the equilibrium? Easy, just to calculate things. So Y is equal to C plus I. There is no government. Then X minus M. How much do we get? Consumption is 200 plus 0.75Y. Investment is 500. Exports are 150. Imports are 100. I hope by now all of you all know how to calculate a equilibrium calculation. You move it around, calculate the y. How much do we get? Y is equal to 3000. So I am skipping the steps because you don't know the steps, you don't know the unit at all. Answer 1. Then 2018 question number this. Okay, we'll look at this question. In the diagram below, OY1 is the equilibrium level of national income. Okay, Y1. So Y1 then your expenditure has to be this. This has to be your Y equals Z. That's why you're at equilibrium. Okay. And OY2 is the full employment level of national income. So have I missed any parts in the question? No. OY2 or is it OY star? Have I typed the question wrong? That has to be Y2. The diagram has to be Y2. Or the question has to be star. I think the question has to be star. Yes, diagram I take from this one. Okay, so this has to be star. Okay. Full employment is this. Okay. Can you tell me what is the question? I have missed the part of the question. What are they asking for? Question is asking you for the deflationary gap. Is it deflationary gap or deflationary output gap? Asking for? Is the word output there in the question? Right. So the question is asking you, sorry, I've typed the question wrong. So question is asking you, what is the deflationary gap? Is the deflationary gap. So how do you get the deflationary gap, Lamai? Now, you're at equilibrium at Y1. Full employment is Y star. So you're at equilibrium below full employment. That is what you call a deflationary gap. They're asking you for the distance. So this 1 over here, Lamai, is your deflationary output gap. Right? I told you, if they say output, you give this. If they say deflationary gap without the word output, I told you, you have to give it from the horizontal axis. So then for you to go to full employment, your expenditure has to be here. But actually your expenditure is here. So this gap is your deflationary gap. So which letters show that gap, Lamai? The one of U, V. Answer number 2. Cool. Marking scheme also gives you that neighbor. I just want to reconfirm because I have typed the question wrong. Yeah. Okay. So remember, if they say output gap, I told you all this before also, then give the horizontal line, the Y1 and Y star. If they just say gap, deflationary output gap, then the answer has to be this line. If they said output deflationary output gap, then you give from the output axis. If they just say deflationary gap, then it is the vertical difference. Okay, put that into your heads now. Yeah. Then the next one, 2019 question 23. The diagram below displays the aggregate expenditure function for a hypothetical. What is KV? There's nothing like that. Hypothetical function, okay. At the real output level of 600, there is a what? This is that disequilibrium. So they are saying, okay, if the output level is 600, so this is 600 this is also 600. Y equals E, that's a 45-degree line. So at this point, Lamai, how much is your expenditure? Your expenditure is 450. Your output is 600. So you have a accumulation of stock or a reduction of stock. People are willing to spend 450. You have produced 600. There is a Q. You produced more. How much more? You have produced? How much more? You have produced 200 the 150. Here you don't compare with equilibrium, right? Compare the at the point they have given. At the point, they are saying at that point, output is 600. At that point, they are saying 600, the people's expenditure is 450. So the answer is this gap. What is that gap? That gap at that point is 150, 200. May gap yeah? The gap has to be the gap between the Y and the E. Okay. So which one is the gap? Answer number, accumulation of unplanned stocks of 150. Yes, this is not an output gap for those who are asking me. Now, this question in 2018 and this question over here are completely two different questions. This is full employment and equilibrium. This is disequilibrium. Please go back to your tunes, learn the story properly and come back, you will get it. This is not asking for output gap. This is asking you for the gap of the disequilibrium. The unintended involuntary inventory accumulation or the involuntary inventory shortage. How takes aggregate expenditure of 600? Aggregate expenditure is 450. Now this is the Y equals E line. So Y equals E line can on that line, the income and expenditure has to be equal. So I'm just helping you to read it. So the output is 600. The expenditure is 450. This 600 is not this. This I'm saying is the Y term. I wrote this again for you to get the difference there. Deflationary gap and deflationary gap can you give the vertical distance. Deflation output Q, you give the horizontal distance. The deflation or deflation output gap is where you are at equilibrium below full employment. Okay, 2020. Inventory not because of inflation now. You just produced more. How can you assume why there is 600? That is because that is the 45-degree Y equals E line. Sometimes I really think in vain. If I would have taught you all the theory class, this would not be a problem. I'm not very sure where you all learned the theory, what happened with this whole theory logic that you have learned behind. For the people asking me questions, there is a big gap between where you get the what you have learned and what we are doing. I just hoped and prayed if you were a part of my theory class, none of these problems would have been there. Yes, this is your 45-degree line, Nilamai. So what is the logic of that 45-degree line? In this 45-degree line, at any point, Y and E has to be equal. Right? So metana 200 now, metana 200. So that is why I am saying metana 600 now, metana 600 kiela. So don't ask me how did the 600 come. That is the Y equals E. It's a 45-degree line. Remember when we draw the graph, we draw it on the proper scale because you have the same thing. No? Okay. No. So in this graph, Lama, you don't care about a full employment level of output. There is nothing like that in this graph. In this graph, it's just that the Y and the E is not matching each other. If I'll have my theory class recordings, please go back, figure that out. Okay, 2020 A levels question 24. In an economy with a positive output gap, what can you say? Positive output gap can lamai? You're at equilibrium above full employment or below full employment. Your actual output is greater or less than potential output. Actual output is greater than potential output. Actual output is greater than potential output. This is also called a what gap? Positive output gap is also called a inflationary output gap. So you have inflationary output gap. So which one is your answer? There is unutilized production capacity. Unutilized would have been if there is a negative output gap. Here you are producing more than the potential also. Cyclical unemployment, usually not unemployment level. Actual output is less than, no, actual output is greater. There is a slowdown in economy? No, you're producing so much. Demand pull pressure exists? Yes. Right? Your actual output is more than, that's how the word inflationary output gap comes in. Okay. Right. So 24 is 5. Then 2021, question 24. Suppose in a closed economy, without a government, savings function is minus 100 plus 0.2y. Investment is 800. What is equilibrium? You can do this using the y equals E approach, or you can do it even using the withdrawals equals injections approach. How many of you know how to do this with the withdrawals equals injection? Everyone converted the savings function to a consumption function and did it that way? Yes. If savings function is minus 100 plus 0.2, then consumption is plus 100 plus 0.75, and then you did y equals E. That's the normal way that you're used to. But you can also do it using this line. Withdrawals equals injections approach. So your withdrawals are savings, injections are investment. Withdrawals is minus 100. You're doing the same thing, 0.25i. Investment is 800. So you just have to find the y. So then 0.25i, I'll take the 100 to this side, then becomes plus 100. Then that becomes 900. Then y is equal to 900 divided by 0.25. How much do you get? You get 3,600. So same thing, whether you do W equals J or Y equals E, you have to get the same thing. But remember, know the W equals J as well, because what if in your paper 2, they ask you calculate equilibrium using the W equals J method? So you'll have to know. Answer number 4. Then 2021, question 25. Which of the following is a leakage from the circular flow? Easy in line. There are 3 leakages. One of that is there. Savings, taxes, imports. Which one of that is there? Savings, taxes, and imports are leakages. Imports are there. No? So imports is your answer. 2021-25, number 3. Then the next one, 2022. Table below shows some macroeconomic data. They've given gross domestic capital formation. That is what you call investment, Lamai. They've given exports of goods and non-factor services. You can think of that as your exports. Imports of goods and non-factor services, right? Government savings. How do you get the value of private savings? It's an interesting one. First of all, do you all remember this equation? Domestic savings is equal to private savings plus public savings. Public savings can be government savings. Private savings plus government savings. Remember this story. Private savings is only my household savings, right? Or personal savings and business savings. Those two together is only private savings. Okay, this is the equation there. Yes, leakages, withdrawal, same thing. Then in this question, they've given us my government savings as -3. They are asking you how much is the private savings. Can you get domestic savings and then work backwards? There is another way of getting domestic savings. What is the other way of getting domestic savings? That's what most of you all know. Domestic savings is equal to what plus what? Domestic savings is equal to your investment, gross domestic capital formation, plus net exports. So gross domestic capital formation lama is 50. Your net exports is 10 minus 16. How much do you get as domestic savings? Domestic savings is 44. So your domestic savings is 44. So if your domestic savings is 44, Lamai, your government savings is -3 now. How much should your private savings be? It's an equation, and I fill the equation. Your private savings have to be 47. That is your on. So it's not a difficult one. It's just that you need both the equations here to do this. You should also know that domestic savings is investment plus net exports. You should also know domestic savings is also equal to private savings and government savings. Private savings is the addition of household or personal savings and business savings. That's why I told you, someone asked me before also, sir, is personal savings and private savings the same? It's not the same. Personal savings කියන්නේ මේක ළමයි, household savings. Private savings is household plus business. But usually sometimes in questions, business savings is not good. Business savings only ළමයි your undistributed profit, retained profits. Undistributed profits, or we call it retained profits. That is what you call business savings. Usually, very rarely in questions, they give you that. So then, if retained profits or undistributed profits are not there, then you can say household savings and private savings are same here. But remember, it's fundamentally, it's not. Okay. So your answer there is then number one. How many people got this right? I think it's a really interesting question. Got it right? Got it right without copying or anything. Yes, I have a laptop and a tablet both. Okay. Then that's 22. Then going to the next. Question number 23. 23. You're given the following macroeconomic data for a hypothetical economic. Savings is there, budget deficit is there, net exposure is there. What is the level of investment? Interesting one. How are you going to get this? From savings function, yes, you all get, ideally, you get private savings, yes. Okay. How you can do this is, Lamai, with the withdrawals equals injections approach. Now, withdrawals is savings, taxes, imports. Injections are investment, government spending, exports. Now look at this. Have they given you the data together? Savings nang dila tiyena 500 kilo they have given. Okay. Now budget deficit. Budget deficit is lamai government income minus government spending. That's what you call the budget balance. They've given you that. Then what is net exports? Net exports is exports minus imports. So shall we turn this equation to match that? So you know what I'll do? Watch carefully. I will take the government spending to this side. Plus G is there. So plus G may it becomes minus G. Okay. The M on this side, I'll take it to that side. Then it becomes minus M. So then G I have taken. So now see, you have savings 500. Budget is in a deficit. Budget balance is government taxes minus spending. So they're saying budget is a deficit of 100. So this is a minus 100. T minus G is a minus 100. You have a budget deficit. Okay. Then investment is what I want. X minus M. X minus M can your net exports. That is another minus 50. So now you just have to simplify the thing. How much do you get when you simplify? 400 minus 100. This is 400. Maybe you bring this minus 50, this becomes plus 50. How much is investment? 400. So be a little smart, line. That's why, see, if you see in the previous questions, nikangma W equals J then. Now here what they have done, they've gone one step ahead. Now that is what they will do in your paper as well. There is no guarantee that they will give you the exact same question again. But same learning, same logic. But you go one step ahead. So that is where now sometimes the problem that some of you all have is even these past papers, you memorize the past papers. That's not the point, right? The point of past papers is, okay, how do I do this? Always when you all are doing, not just econ, when you are doing other papers also, I've told you all, when you're doing questions, past papers, your tuition sirs, school, whatever, always think, okay, what if they ask it like this? Can I get the answer? It's not about, this answer is this way. What if they give it like this? Why are these answers wrong? What if they ask me to do something like this? So always have that open. That's easy to do for accounting. In accounting, you have these adjustments. So they'll say, okay, there is adjustment until this. Okay, so let's say there is adjustment, say, okay, there are prepaid advertising. Now you think, okay, what if this was not prepaid? Okay, what if this was accrued advertising? Do I know how to do it? Now that thinking, always staying in that mind and getting it done is very important. Okay. Savings investment, no, Lama, you can't, you might get the numbers here, but actually you can't, because these are open economics. You have to consider the budget balance as well. Okay, that's it with the MCQs. How did you all do? There were, I think, 23 MCQs. Yes. How much out of 23? At least around a 15-ish, I think is a good enough mark. There were not that many hard ones though. Hard kyanne, if you know the unit, it's very easy. It's very direct, easy one. So I feel at least around a 15-ish is a decent enough good mark out of the 23. Okay, right. So then we'll take a small 5-minute break. I want to wrap up by 9 as well because I have a dinner to go. My family is waiting until I come. So we'll take a 5-minute break and then we'll come into this. If you take G minus T, then you give it as a positive. Then you can't give that as a minus 100, you give it as a plus 100 if you give J minus T. Okay. So we'll take a break until 8:20 and then we'll go through the essay questions. Take a break and time. Right. So 2012 A levels, question number, remember all of this is question number 5. I would have not given the main question number. Question number 5, part 2. Why is savings called a leakage? Why is savings called a leakage? What is a leakage? A leakage is any money that is in the circular flow. Any money that goes out from the circular flow, right? That is there. So then why is savings a leakage? Because savings from the income that households get, right? From the income households receive, a part of it is going out, right? So that's what you have to talk about. So it's just a 2-mark question. You have to say that why is it a leakage? Because from the income that households get, they don't consume the entire part. So the entire part doesn't go into the circular flow. Some of it goes out from the circular flow of income as a leakage. That's what savings is. Savings is the income that is not spent on consumption. So when you don't spend it on consumption, it goes out from the circular flow. It's not passed on in the circular flow model. That is why it's called leakage. So this answer, you can write in your own words, but use some proper words there. You can refer to the marking scheme as well. Come up with a proper answer. Cool? Okay. Then the next one, 2015 A levels, question number 3. Suppose that in a closed economy, savings is greater than investment. Under such a situation, explain how the economy achieves equilibrium. Now, this question, Lama, you can answer this in multiple ways. I'll show you this in a diagram, though, okay, to show you the disequilibrium situation. So, if you take a simple economy, right, I'll draw 2 graphs. This is the 45-degree y equals E line. Y equals E, the 45-degree line there. Then along with that itself, I will draw the withdrawals equals injections. So here we'll assume simple economy. So withdrawal is savings. The only injection is this. So this is your withdrawals. This is your injection. So here my withdrawal is savings. My injection is investment. So where you are at equilibrium over here is the same equilibrium that you have to be over here, Nilaman. So here, where your y equals E equilibrium should also be your W equals J equilibrium, because those are, you can't get 2 different numbers. No? For example, here, if your equilibrium level of national income is 4,000, here also it has to be 4,000. Okay. So then, now, they are talking about a situation. I'm just explaining through a graph. You don't have to draw a graph there. Planned savings is greater than investment. Savings is greater than investment. withdrawals are greater than injections. You're on which part of the diagram? Are you on the yellow part of the diagram, or are you on the green part of the diagram? Where is withdrawals greater than injections? Withdrawals are greater than injections. Where is the withdrawal curve above the injections curve? Yellow part or the green part? In the green part, right? If you can see over here, withdrawals are greater than injections there. Yeah. Then I will erase this back. So you're there. So when withdrawals are greater than injections, what can you tell about my Y and E? When this is there, what can you tell about output and expenditure? Which one will be greater? In this part, when withdrawal, the yellow shaded part, when withdrawals are greater than injections, this black color line is your output line, red is your expenditure line. So we say when withdrawals are greater than injections, Lamai, your Y is greater than E. That is a what? Involuntary inventory accumulation or an involuntary inventory shortage? That's the involuntary inventory accumulation. You have produced free inventory you have produced more than what people want. So now what should happen, Lama, in a situation like this? In a situation where your withdrawals are greater than injections, your output is greater than expenditure, what should ideally happen now? What should happen to your output now? Your output has to increase or decrease. You have produced more than what people want. Your output has to decrease. So when your output decreases, you will get into equilibrium, right? Y decreases, you'll go to Y equals E equilibrium. And also, when your output decreases, what will happen to your savings? Output means income, Y. If income decreases, what happens to savings? Savings will also decrease, right? So savings will also decrease, then you will go to equilibrium. So right now, savings is more than investment. So savings is more than investment. That's why you're over here, this red part here. So if you reduce your output, your Y is greater than E. If you reduce your output, then what happens? Your output comes down. You go to Y equals E equilibrium. Output coming down means income comes down. That means your savings also comes down. You go to W equals J equilibrium as well. So that's how you go into equilibrium. So that story is what you have to now explain, Lamai. So question is asking, suppose in a closed economy, savings is greater than investment. That means you're in the yellow shade, you're on the right side here. Now this same thing, Lamai, maybe for what you can do is practice the other way around. What if they say investment is greater than savings? If they say investment greater than, then you're on this side of the graph. Okay. So here, savings is more. Yeah, you don't have to draw the graph here, Lamai. I'm just drawing the graph to explain the story to you. Okay. So under such situation, explain how the economy achieves equilibrium. So you know what you should write. I'll just dictate the points. You can start with this, Lama. You can say in a situation where savings is greater than investment, that means the total withdrawals in the economy is greater than the total injections. So you start with this one. Then you can say in a situation like this, the output, the Y will be greater than expenditure as well. The planned output is greater than the planned expenditure. This would mean that the economy is at disequilibrium and there is a involuntary inventory accumulation. You have produced more than what people want. So in a situation like this, in order to reach equilibrium, output has to decrease. When the withdrawals are greater, when your Y is greater than E, W is greater than J, what should happen? Output has to decrease. When your output decreases, what happens? Then when your Y decreases, savings will decrease. So right now, yes, savings is more than investment. But when savings come down, you will come to a place where savings equals investment. So that story is what I talk about. This is not inflationary output gap. For the 100th time, those are two different things. This is not a output gap. Output gaps are comparing with full employment. There is nothing called a full employment thing here. Inflationary output gap, deflationary output gap, never maker. This is disequilibrium. Inflationary output gap, deflation output gap, that is still equilibrium. Equilibrium above full employment or below full employment. Those are completely two different things. Okay. The two responses you can touch a little bit about it, but okay. Right. No need to define investment and savings. Done. Then 2016, question number 5, part 4. They've given this, they're asking for equilibrium level of national income. This is just like an MCQ, no? Autonomous consumption, investment, government spending, net exports, MPC. You can talk a little bit about stock and all, but not very important. Okay. So how do you find equilibrium? Y equals E, Y is equal to C plus I plus G plus net exports. So consumption is autonomous consumption 500, MPC 0.8 kyanne. Consumption is 500 plus 0.8. Investment is 1250. Government spending 1000. Net exports minus 250. Can you all do the simplification for me, please? How much is equilibrium level of national income? I hope all of you all can do this. You all are not stuck. Right? It's simply moving things around and calculate y. Chat box is giving me different answers. Let me do it. I'm getting panicked now. 500, 1500, 2750, 2500. So 2000. I'll add all the numbers. It's 25 plus 0.8y. I'll move it to this side. So y minus 0.8y is equal to 2500. 0.2y equals 2500. Y is equal to 2500 divided by 0.2. That is equal to 12,500. For all those who gave me different numbers, please recheck. Yeah, these are, trust me, this is a free mark, right? This 4 marks in your paper. If this is not free marks for you, then I don't know what you have been doing in the last 2 years. If you see a question like this, you have to be jumping up and down in your A-level paper. This is just like the QD equals QS equilibrium. There is no taxes even to adjust it, to convert YD to Y, nothing like that. So free, this one. Please don't leave these questions out. This was the previous one. Okay. So then in 2016, there is another question. That's also a calculation. Again, they're asking you, the following macroeconomic data are given. They're asking you, Lamai, calculate disposable national income and the value of investment. How do you find disposable national income, Lamai? So disposable national income is from your national income. That's what you call your YNO. You have to minus monal. You have to minus net taxes. Right? Net taxes. If there is no net, you can just say taxes. So Y minus T tamai lama is YB. So your national income, Y is 1000. How much is your taxes? How do you get? Always, Lama, remember, you can get your taxes with your budget balance. They are saying budget deficit is 40. So remember, Lama, how do you find the government's budget balance? Unit number 8, we learn that is government's revenue minus government spending. So budget balance is minus 40. Deficit, right? Budget balance is a minus 40. Taxes are how much? I don't know. That's what I want to find out. Government expenditure is 250. So if I work around, Lama, how much I get as taxes? I will get a 210. Right? I am earning only 210, spending 250. That's why I have a budget deficit of 40. So then, if my taxes are 210, Lamai, how much is my disposable income? I was with your recordings and I did the papers easy and Saturday. Yes, if you have the recordings, Lamai, please watch. That's why the whole point of it is, that's why my account recently got banned as well. 790. So I know a lot of y'all who have my theory recordings these days are watching a lot. I can monitor the usage because the usage is very high. Only my account got banned as well, and I had to switch to another server. But watch, I will pay and I will keep the recordings on. The fact that you have bought it, that is something that you have to make use of. And that's the whole point of it. And especially for those who are there in the fast track lamai, what's the fast track recording? If you want a quick recap, fast track the unit is only 3 hours summarized unit. So you can quickly get this. Doubt clearing sessions, I didn't recover those because to recover all the videos, it takes a lot of effort. Doubt clearing sessions, because it doesn't make sense to watch it now. That's why I didn't recover the doubt clearing sessions. The main ones are recovered. Okay. Right. Then part YD minus T. Yeah, YD minus T is only y. Y minus T is only y. Doubt clearing session, I'm not planning to upload it again. I have not recovered those. Because they don't waste time watching a doubt clearing session now, right? If you had doubt, because doubt clearing session, those are other people's doubts. They had different stuff. Right now, you put your time to do better stuff than watching a previous doubt clearing session. Okay. Right. Then B, what is the level of investment in the economy? How do you get investment? So you can go the normal y equals E. Y is equal to C plus I plus G plus net expense. Your Y is 1000. Your consumption is 500. Investment is what you want. Yeah, you can give all this in rupees million. Investment. Government spending is 250. Net exports is 100. So how much do we get, Laman? Investment. That's the missing figure, 150. So that's an easy calculation. Remember, these can be MCQs also, very similar MCQs also we saw. So even in paper 2, knowing it is good to do the MCQs. That's what even I tell you all for unit number 11 and 12. 11 and 12, I know in your A-level paper, question number 9 and 10 karanne. But at least read those questions and answers. It can help with the MCQs. Next one, 2070. Suppose the aggregate consumption function for a simple economy while investment is, tap the question wrong. How much is the number there? Investment is 200. Okay. Is it there in your paper or is it just not there in the paper also? Is it there in the tute I sent? No, I have to make a lot of corrections. The problem with making these corrections is unless I do it right after the class, next year when I do this, I forget. That's the problem. Right. So consumption is given by 100 plus 0.8. What is the equilibrium of national income? So that also will likely most get 2 marks. So how do you find that, Lamai? Easy, y equals E. So y is equal to C plus I. That is how much? Consumption is 100 plus 0.8 y. Investment is 200. Can you all give me the answer? Y is equal to 1005. The next one they're asking me is part B, what is the level of savings at equilibrium? So get the savings equation. So if consumption is 100 plus 0.8y, you show how the savings comes. Savings will be minus 100 plus 0.2y. So at equilibrium, calculate the savings. So at equilibrium, I put the number and see equilibrium is 1005. So minus 100 plus 0.2 into 1500. How much do you get? That is 300. Then you get a 200. Okay. Part C. Okay. Look at this. They're saying if for some reason equilibrium is lamai 1005, right? That is your Y equals E. Your expenditure is 1005. If for some reason, if the output was 1007, this is your Y equals E, that's your expenditure. Expenditure 1005. But if the output was 1007 means lamai, what would be the level of inventory accumulation? Now here, when you solve all of this, what you get is the expenditure, that is 200. So expenditure is 200. Sorry, expenditure is 1500. But if the output was 1700, that means you have produced more, right? Inventory accumulation, disequilibrium. How much of a disequilibrium? How much of an inventory accumulation? You have a disequilibrium of this 200. So that's the inventory accumulation. For the previous one, I would not recommend going. Yes, you can say savings equals investment. That's story kiyanna puluwa, but I will not recommend that because sometimes you might get marks cut. They might give you marks for the workings. Okay. Right, that's 6 marks. Again, kind of 3 marks there. The next one. 2017, there is another one. Assume that GDP is 6,000, personal disposable income. So this is Y. Y is 6,000, YD is 5,100. Budget deficit is 200, consumption 38, trade deficit 100. Trade deficit means your net exports. What is the amount of savings? How are you going to get this? How are you going to get this? You can do this, right? So you know your disposable income. From your disposable income, if you minus your consumption, Lama, you have to get savings. Okay. So how much is your disposable income in this question? Disposable income is 5,100. Question they have told. How much is consumption? Consumption is 3,800. Then how much has to be your savings? Your savings has to be the balance, the 1,300. You can give that as your savings. Okay. Then part B, what is the size of investment? How do you get investment? How are we going to get investment? Can you first calculate, Lamai, and tell me, we can do the normal Y equals E, right? Information is there. No, we need government spending. How much is government spending here? First of all, how much is the taxes here? GDP is 6,000, Y is 6,000, YD is 5,100. Y minus taxes only is YD. That means tax has to be here. Tax has to be here. There has to be a tax of 900, right? Yeah, you can use W equals J, no problem. A tax of 900. So then tell me, in this story, if you have a budget deficit, your budget balance is taxes minus government spending. Budget balance is a minus 200 deficit. Taxes 900. How much is your government spending? That's the part C. Government spending has to be 1,001. That is part C, if you want to get it. But you can also go back to part B. So how do you get part B done? Part B, you can use Y equals W equals J also, Y equals E also. Which one do you want to use? Shall we use W equals J? So withdrawals equals injections. So savings plus taxes plus imports should equal to investment plus government spending plus exports. So here, you have to ideally do part C to come to part B. Right? You need government spending, whether you do Y equals E or W equals A. So then your trade balance is given as trade deficit. They have given as this. Or you can do this. So you can do it without government spending. So they have given you budget deficit. So budget deficit, you can take it remember the MCQ that we did. So so savings, taxes minus government spending is budget balance. I took the G to this side. I'll move the M to that side. Then investment plus X minus M. So savings is what we found, 1,300. Taxes minus government spending is called your budget balance. That is here, minus 200 because budget is in deficit. Investment is what I'm finding. Net exports is a minus 100. So if you work around now, how much you get as investment? 1,002. 1,100, you get 100, yeah. Investment is 1,002. So you can do it this way without finding government spending. And then for part C, you have to find government spending. How do you get government spending? First, find the taxes. Y minus YD is taxes. Then put that into the budget balance equation you can get. Okay. Is that fine? 6 marks there. Not that hard. It's a little confusing once you do a little a few times, you will get the hang of it. How many of you got all of that correct? 1,300, 1,200, and government spending is 1,100. Got all the three answers. Good. If you're getting the three answers, Kiani, you have figured this out. To calculate savings, lama, it's from your disposable income, lama, you minus consumption, not from your income. The disposable income is what you can actually spend. From that, all you minus this, not this. Okay. (2018). So we have three more questions to discuss. In a hypothetical economy, government purchases are 400, taxes are 300, savings is 200, investment is 250. What is the value of net exports? How are you going to get? You can do this now again with the withdrawals equals injections. So withdrawals equals injections, savings plus taxes plus imports equals investment plus government spending plus exports. You move the imports to this side, then savings plus taxes are equal to investment, government spending. If you move the imports to this side, that is X minus M. That is what you call your net exports. So you have to find that. What have they given? They've given savings 200, private savings. Taxes 300. Okay. Investment they have given 250. Government spending they have given 400. So how much is this figure then? Be careful, it can even be negative. Huh? How much do you get? Is it plus 150 or minus 150? Remember, net exports can be negative. If your imports are more, it's a minus 150. So is that a difficult question for you to do this? Yeah, if there are transfers, you'll get net taxes, correct, previous. Okay. So you can say net exports is a minus 150 billion. When there is a budget deficit, you get to put the plus value in the injection side. Yeah, if you're doing G minus T, then you can put a plus. Yes. Okay. Then the next one, 2021, question 5, part 2. Consider the following macroeconomic data for an open economy. Government gross domestic product, consumption, taxes minus transfer, that is net taxes, investment, budget deficit. How are you going to do this? They're asking you for net exports. Are you going to do Y equals E? Yeah, can do Y equals E, right? So Y equals E, Y is equal to C plus I plus G plus net exports. Y they have given us 500. Consumption they have given 350. Investment they have told 150. Government spending is how much? We don't know. We have to get that. How are you going to get government spending now? So budget balance is equal to government's income minus spending. Budget balance is budget deficit. So therefore, budget balance is minus 120. Taxes are 20. Then how much should government spending be? Export is the net export. The right opposite of net import. Net import, we don't take anything. Usually we'll say net exports. How much should government spending be? Government spending has to be a minus 100. Has to be 140, right? So 140, you're collecting only 20 as tax. You're spending 140. That's why you have a budget deficit of 120. So government spending is 140. So then how much is your net exports? That is the missing figure. These are 3 marks. Can you see the same thing, right? I'm a budget balance to find government spending or taxes. Then the net export side of it. Somehow you have to find a missing figure. How much do we get? Net exports. What is the number? Remember, net exports can be negative. Huh? You get minus 140. Always remember, I put this one here in all of these questions. I never put the unit. So your final answer properly right. It has to be rupees minus 140 billion. Don't just say minus 140. I'm just doing the calculation for you. You make sure you properly write the rupees and the unit and all of it, whatever they have given in the question. billion million බෑ ළමයි. it is billion or billion එක. GDP ළමයි, that is remember unit number 5 here. Your GDP, whether you take income approach, output approach, anything is the same, right? Income, output, anything. Yeah, billion can, yeah, no problem. But I would say write the full form. You're not gonna lose time. When doing W equals J, taxes, yes, taxes should be net taxes. Consume and produce surplus in rupees, yes. Okay. Then this is the last question that we have. 2024, question 5, part 4. Consider a closed economy where the autonomous consumption is 200, MPC is 80% of your disposable income. How much is your MPC now? Is MPC 80? MPC is 80% of your disposable income. If your income is 1 rupee, MPC is 80% of it. That is 0.8. So product practically when you get a question, MPC can't be 80 no man. MPC plus MPS has to be 1. Okay. So then investment is 500, government spending is 300, taxes are 200. Calculate the equilibrium level of national income. So here now you have taxes. Y equals E. Y is equal to C plus I plus G plus net exports. Consumption is how much, Lamai? 200 plus 0.8 Y or 0.8 YD? 0.8 YD. There are taxes. Don't forget the tax. Okay. Then investment is how much? 500. Government spending is 300. Are there net exports? No, closed economy. So no imports and exports. Right? So I'll leave it there. Now remember, Lamai, now you have one further adjustment here, right? You are convert the YD into Y. Okay. So Y is equal to 200 plus 0.8 YD and Y minus T plus 500 plus 300. So maybe what I'll do is now I'll add all the numbers together. 200, 500, 300, that is 1000. Make my numbers easy. 0.8 Y, how much is my tax? Tax is 200. So Y minus 200. Now, this is where some of you all make a mistake. Now, be careful when simplifying the bracket. 0.8 into Y, 0.85. Make a hey, 200. You go wrong. So that's not how you break. No? So you have to multiply this by this and this by this. So 0.8 into minus 200 is a minus 160. Okay. So then 1000 minus 160 is 840. So it's 840 plus 0.85. Now it's easy. No? So Y minus 0.8Y equals 840. 0.2Y is equal to 840. Y is equal to 840 divided by 0.2. How much do you get? 4,200. So this is the latest A-level paper, 4 marks. So my question is, are these difficult? These are not. If you know the basics, lamai, once you do the past papers, you realize, same thing they keep on asking here. These are not difficult questions. If it's difficult, I will tell you. Did you get that right? Yes. 24 not a very easy paper. 24 is a normal standard paper. Okay. Okay, so YD is Y minus T. Have that in mind. Okay. Where is 300? No, net expenditure. The government spending is only 300. Okay. Right. So with that, we'll then wrap off. Now remember, our next session, that will be a little bit harder. That is where, now this is just equilibrium. No? Next week, we'll go into equilibrium and how the equilibrium changes, the multiplier effect story. So if you have the recordings, if you have forgotten my product, recap that part and come. Then do the questions. I have sent that out on the group. I will resend it if you all want. Do it and come so that we can get that done. If you haven't touched the 11 and 12 recordings, watch it. You can watch it in 1 or 2 days and finish. Unit 11 and 12, Lama, you get how much? You get around 8 MCQs. That is 16 marks. And that's easiest 16 marks that you will get. The rest, most of y'all, I think I will see y'all on tomorrow, right? See y'all tomorrow for the seminar. Some of y'all, I will see y'all on Sunday as well for the physical paper. Cool. Right. So with that, I'll end it off. For those who have questions, please do stay and clarify. I will be there. See you. Bye-bye.